Hey, good morning, guys. It is October 2nd. Have you ever read a story in the Bible and then you think, "Oh, I think I've read that before," but then it just seems different than what you remember? And a lot of that is having read the same story in one of the other gospels, and each of the disciples saw it from a different angle, describe it a little differently, heard different things, noticed different things. The story, though, I don't remember the details. It's in Mark 9, and Chambers dealt with the Mount of Transfiguration yesterday and that mountaintop experience. And then they come down off the mountain to see the disciples. So it's Jesus, Peter, James, and John. So the four of them come down off the mountain, having met with Elijah and Moses, actually, um, which is, yeah, that was a little bit of a strange experience. But come down off the mountain and see the other disciples, a crowd, and the leaders, the always the religious leaders arguing, and it's a boy who is plagued by an evil spirit, they say, and he convulses, foams at the mouth, and it sounds, in all honesty, it sounds like epilepsy, which is kind of funny, but um, not funny, haha, funny, strange. But he foams at the mouth. He's deaf and mute since birth, or since childhood. I think it says since birth. From childhood, it says. And this spirit, they're trying to cast out the spirit, and the boy, they all run to Jesus because they know that Jesus is the one with the real answers. The, I never really saw the details of the story, which is that this boy has this condition, and somehow what we would consider a medical condition um, in today's age, they see as a spiritual condition. And it made me wonder, and I'm sorry, I'm not getting, there's a ton of, the Chambers deals with a little different focus than where my head went today. So I'm kind of going where my head went when I read it. So I'll deal with a little bit of what Chambers said, but the scripture itself just kind of baffled me. His condition is what we would normally, in our modern day, consider a medical condition. We would never think to um, to treat it spiritually. And then I wonder, how many conditions are there like this that we don't recognize as spiritual, that we think, oh, it's just a physical ailment. It's just something that happens. He has seizures. He foams at the mouth. He even says that the it has often thrown him into the fire or water to kill him. And then this is what the father says: "But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." And that's where Chambers jumps off there, and that's what stood out to me too. The father says, and Jesus' response is kind of different than what you would think. Sometimes Jesus' response um, it could be perceived as a little snarky, but it's not that. It makes people think. It makes people stop and say, "What did I just say?" Because Jesus says to the man, and maybe the tone that I'm thinking it in is not the way Jesus said it, but he does. The man says, "If you can do anything, if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." And the man's like, basically, anything you can do here, whether you heal him, whether whatever, if you can do anything. And Jesus not really takes offense, but he takes exception, at least, with the "if you can." And that's exactly what he says. If you can, question mark, everything is possible for him who believes. And I think, whoa, that's a very, very bold statement on Jesus' part. He's not saying everything is possible just for me. Everything is possible for him who believes. And so, wrapping my head around this, not only that Jesus can heal and Jesus can deliver, but everything is possible for him who believes. What do we do with that? And then what he does is Jesus says, "You deaf and mute spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." And he falls like he's dead. They're like, "Oh no, he's dead." Jesus lifts him up, says, "No, no, he's okay." And then the disciples say, why couldn't we drive it out? And he says, this kind can only come out by prayer. Which I don't know. I guess Jesus prayed ahead of time or maybe the prayer here was not highlighted in this account. And so we do have to give some room for that. Chambers kind of captures that same "if thou canst do anything" that the man says to Jesus. And he says it takes the valley of humiliation to root the skepticism out of us. It takes the valley experience, and Chambers is kind of dealing with the mount versus the valley. They come off the mount, and then they're in the valley, in the trenches, as we would say. And he goes a different way, and I'm not even going to highlight all of what Chambers says today, but I think it's worth noting that a couple things, that sometimes things are spiritual when we think they're not. We think they're physical. Anyone who, let's see, he says, everything is possible for him who believes. Can we take Jesus at his word there? And I think that was it. Anyway, you guys ponder it. It's kind of got me a little bit wrapped up. So have a good one.